Hello, everyone. My name is John Newstreet. I'm the president and CEO of our Kissimmee, Osceola County Chamber of Commerce, where we are champions for business and community. And today we bring you another in our webcast on timely topics. We have a great guest today I'll introduce just momentarily, but I do want to mention to you I've got a new background today. I am in Fort Walton Beach, and there is Hurricane Sally, a Category 2 hurricane going overhead. So the wonders of technology, it's great to be with you all. I can't wait to get home. I'm up here at a chamber conference trying to learn best practices to bring back so we can remain champions for business and community. But to the point today, we're going to talk with our property appraiser, Katrina Scarborough of Osceola County. She's been our property appraiser since 2008, and before being elected to that role, she served in the office for 20 years. So like our mission statement, she is a champion for business and community. She's a good friend of the chamber, and she's going to give us some tips on how to understand what's at play with our trim notices and what's happening with COVID. So if we can bring her up on screen, we'll start the conversation. Hi, Katrina. Thanks for being with us today.
Good morning, John. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I gave just a touch on the intro about how your level of expertise, how tremendous it is. So I do know that I was talking with another property appraiser recently who said, you know, as much as you think you know the trim notice, there's so much more you learn as you get into this role. And so perhaps you can give us some of that knowledge, both on the residential side and the commercial side, about what a trim notice is, what it means, and how we can respond to that. I know you can even appeal some of the values that come out. So maybe talk to us about all of that, please.
Okay, well, the trim comes out in mid-August. I try to mail them out around the same time. This year they went out August 21st. A lot of people don't look at them because it says, do not pay, this is not a bill. And that's further from the truth. It's not a bill, but it's probably more important than the bill, because it gives you the opportunity to look and see what kind of value I've placed on your property and what your taxes could be. It also shows you what kind of exemptions we've applied to your property. So if you have a question about your value, that's the time to contact us, because once the bill comes out, my hands are tied statutorily and I can't make any adjustments unless it is a factual adjustment. Say we're assessing you for a swimming pool and you don't have a swimming pool. It's the only way I can adjust your tax bill once November comes. But in August, if you get that trim notice and you go, hey, I think my value's a little high, that's the time to contact us. You are the property owner. You know your property much better than we do. We're doing this on a mass appraisal. So we have over 170,000 parcels that we're doing. So you can contact us and say, hey, I think the value's too high. If we can't defend what we've put on there, then we're not doing our job. And however, I think that we do a good job. We're very thorough. But you, as the property owner, either be personal or a business, it's your right to call us and say, hey, how did you derive this value? That's very important. We need to be able to explain that to you. And that's the time that gives me the most flexibility. If we change our opinion, I can't change my opinion on your value come November. The values are set, it's been certified to the tax collector, but in August, we're still able to do some work and listen to what any kind of information you have. If you've got, say, a business, if you're a hotel, you have not given us your income and you want to share it with us to say, hey, I think you're not correct in how you've assessed it. That's the time to do it. 25 days out. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, so one, I want to make sure the process is the same, the dates, timelines, process is the same for both commercial and residential.
Yes.
And then, and you can do some things internally, but is there the value adjustment board in Osceola County that also addresses it? I just want to understand that a little better.
Sure. So you have 25 days to appeal. I always encourage everyone, contact the office, give us the opportunity to take a look at your value. If we still cannot agree on if you don't agree with the value that we place, you have the ability as a property owner to appeal to the Value Adjustment Board, which is a third-party board. We have no engagement with it. We're not a part of that, and it's a third party. The Value Adjustment Board appoints a special magistrate who is an expert, i.e. an appraiser for appraisals. And as the property owner, you come into an informal hearing and you give the evidence as to what you have that shows that your value is incorrect. And then my staff will come in and give the information that we use to come up with the value, and then the special magistrate makes a decision. The last day to file for this year was yesterday, so it's too late to file an appeal. However, if you go now today and take a look at it and go, hey, I don't understand that value, I still encourage you to contact us. Give us the opportunity to explain to you how we came up with that. I will say that the majority of the time, most property owners, they may not like the value, but they understand how we came up with it and walk away with a better understanding. So even though the deadline has passed to file an appeal, still contact the office. It's your right as a property owner, use that right. But the dates are all the same for both commercial and residential. Everything's the same. The process is the same. We ask for evidence. It's kind of like a very informal court hearing.
Mm-hmm. And there are outgoing property appraiser to the north had made news about using a specific model. So are we not on a standard model across the state of Florida to get to those valuations? And can you talk about your model and how you chose that model, I guess?
I would say, obviously, I can't speak for all 67 property appraisers, but I believe that the majority, if not all, use the same model.
Okay.
The model is not an absurd model. It's well known. It's used privately and in the property appraiser world. So I'm not sure, I've read the lawsuit, but I did not get into the particulars of how Orange County actually applied everything with the model. It had to do with the name of Disney and what brings that. But I feel like we use the model and take that information into consideration. But it's it's pretty standard model throughout the state.
So I'll bring that up. Is there subjectivity in it, or that model's straightforward?
There is subjectivity in it.
Okay, got it.
Appraisal is subjective. You take the information and you use that information. It's going to be subjective. It's not going to be an exact, because you're going to look at all data to come up with that. Which
encourages the audience just to be aware that, again, feel free to call the property appraiser's office to get that explanation or to get it right. Not that.
Correct.
So very good. I'm going to transition real quick on this brief time frame here to talk about COVID. I've got a hurricane overhead. We kind of skipped past us there in Orlando, but here it's having some heavy impacts. But does that change valuations as well, I guess? And then I'm going to transition to COVID. I'm sure offices here are shut down for obvious reasons, but has COVID affected how you operate and how do you reach your constituents?
So as far as affecting us and how we've done our job, COVID has not affected us. When the stay-at-home order was put in place, we transitioned all the staff to be able to work from home because we still had state statutes and deadlines that we had to meet. Nothing changed. So the staff, it was a great transition because I have great staff. The IT staff did a tremendous job in helping everyone set up at home. Currently, I have broken the office up into teams just to keep the amount of people down. It's much easier to work in the office with the tool. Most of your tools are here, so it's easier. So I transitioned everyone back a couple months ago, and now we work in teams where one team works at home while the other team is in the office, and the following week we transition and one in office goes home and they switch. So nothing about our job has changed. We still have the same statute deadlines. We still have the same job to do. We're just being more conscientious. Obviously, we're not coming in contact with the public when we're out. As far as having any effect on the values, my lien date is January 1. So obviously on January 1, the economy and COVID was not, the economy was great and the COVID was not around. So I cannot apply any adverse effects COVID would have until next year. So anything that's happening with values, especially the commercial market, residential, I think everybody's seen residential really has not been harmed. We may have less closings, but the sales are still, the prices are still high. Commercial, I know, is being affected. I mean, we've been contacted by several property owners. However, I just cannot take that into effect statutorily until next year. We are, as as an office looking at what can we do to help them, so that we can try to be proactive so that we can start looking at that for next year. But right now, when the bills come out in November, when the trim notices just came out, I just cannot apply anything to that.
So I'll stress there that, you know, from the first part, the trim notice is information, and you can expound on that if they reach you to explain it further. To change it, there's processes in place, and a lot of it's out of your control, especially at this point, especially as it relates to COVID, but you are fully accessible through COVID, you and your staff. And so let's talk about help, right? And people do need help. Your hands are tied in some respect, but you do have a strong platform along with your peers around the state. So what's happening out there, and how can we maybe help even in that regard?
Okay. Before we transition to that, I do want to let everyone know I did recently implement a chat feature on the website. So not only can you come in to see us, you can call to see us, but you can also chat. I'm just trying to think outside the box and give property owners, either be commercial or residential, the ability to contact us in whatever way is most comfortable for them. We also have a drop box out front. So again, we just try to be as accessible as possible. Now, as far as what we're doing to
help.
To help. Sorry. I have met with a couple of different organizations as well with other property appraisers throughout the state just to look at what options can be given to the legislators so that when the legislation meets, they can look at some options that may help property owners. There's several different, during hurricanes, they implemented statutes in the past to take into consideration the damage that was done from a hurricane and adjust taxes accordingly. That's an option. Something else that we've looked at is extending the discount further out, giving property owners a longer time to pay their taxes, realizing that they're being impacted this year and we can't do anything to adjust their value. So there's several meetings that I've been involved in, and we're just trying to see what we can put together to try to help all of the property owners from residential all the way up to commercial get through this difficult time. Nothing we can do, but if we can get it to the legislators and get something in place, I don't foresee it happening until next year.
Sure.
I don't think the legislation is going to go into special session before the end of the year. Could, but I don't. From my sources, they don't think that'll happen. So something may not come until next year, but we're certainly trying to be proactive to help all the property owners.
Well, we as a chamber will be following it, and again, want to support those efforts to help our local businesses. I've talked to several hotel owners who are really feeling the crunch right now, and the tax bill's right around the corner. So whatever help we can get them will be appreciated, needed, really. And so we as a chamber are paying attention, and we're with you on trying to get them that help. So we appreciate you joining us today. We did run a couple of banners through our conversation that again, talked about getting on your newsletter to stay informed and how to reach you. And I know you encourage it, which is encouraging for us that we have a public official who says, you know, reach out to me and let's talk so that your questions can be answered, your concerns can be addressed. So in a sense, when you send that trim notice, you know, it's not a bill, but it's a foreboding message that there's a tax to pay. So I always want to make sure the audience knows, don't shoot the messenger. You're doing your job. You're doing it well, and we appreciate you very much for being a great friend of the chamber and doing a great job for our residents here in Osceola County. So thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, ma'am. Do you have any closing things you want to share with the audience?
No, I just want to reinforce, really pay attention to that trim notice. If you have any questions, please reach out to the office. That's what we're here for. I take educating the public very serious. So the more that I can help you understand your trim notice and how we came up with the value, the better off you are. I also want to encourage, if you're a property owner, make sure that you have applied for all exemptions that you may be eligible for, because that's huge savings, especially over a course of many, many years. So I just ask that you reach out to us, because that's what we're here for.
Well, I do understand there's a live question, so I wanted to make sure we can get to that, although my phone's acting up here. Here we go. We've got it. I just reported to Osceola County last week that my home has been listed as a 3-bedroom home when in fact it's only 2. for the last 20 years that I know of. How will this affect my property taxes? And will she get a refund for paying all those past taxes? Can you address that?
Sure. So bedroom count does not affect the assessment in the property appraiser world. It won't have an effect on the value tremendously, because we look at an average. So we take the price on an average. I'll be glad to. Has anyone, if she's still on, has anyone reached out to her to say, have we fixed it already? Have we answered any other questions that she may have had? But no, it should not really affect her value. The bathroom count is a little more significant in the property appraiser world with how we come up with the value. And as far as refunds, if there was any refund, the statute only allows us to go current +3. So the most that we can refund is 4 years, and that's statutorily. That's completely out of my hands. And then it also, to do any refunds, that has to go to the Department of Revenue. So we would process the paperwork and then send it up to the state, and they're actually the ones that make that decision. So if there is any value change, if we've gone out and looked and maybe saw that something else was incorrect, we can certainly process the paperwork, but I don't have the authority to make that determination. I'll be glad to see if there's any significant value change to process a refund.
Appreciate you addressing that directly with the audience, Katrina, very much. So I don't know that we have any other live questions. It's been a great conversation, and we're right over 15 minutes. So we'll stay in touch. If there's anything we can do for you, especially as we work together to help our businesses and residents in Osceola County through this COVID pandemic, we're here for you. But thanks for being there for us, Katrina, and we'll stay in touch. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you again for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.